Hello and welcome to episode 14 of JoyConcast. I am your host, Nicholas. Welcome to this week's episode. So, just like last week's episode was all focused on Super Mario Maker and that direct that we had, the next 2 weeks are kind of similar as we are focusing on Pokemon since there are some big conferences and directs happening regarding Pokemon. So, just 2 nights ago, we had a Pokemon press conference for 2019, and it was pretty short. It was maybe 20 minutes long, if that. It was pretty quick, if I am being honest. It wasn't really that long. Maybe it was just under half an hour. Maybe, but there was actually quite a bit of information announced, and like I figured, there really wasn't a lot of big stuff. There's some interesting stuff, but obviously nothing regarding Sword and Shield, and nothing really huge. We're gonna get into all of that and more, though. And this week we're going to be discussing the Pokemon press conference. Also, next week, if I'm not mistaken, on the 5th of June at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is going to be a Pokemon Direct. It's going to be all about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I do believe it's on Wednesday the 5th, which would be amazing because I record these episodes the day before they go up, so I record them on Wednesday. Usually stuff happens after I record, so if this is true, this is the first time that something like this has happened. So I should be able to, immediately after the announcement, record my thoughts and opinions for that week's JoyConcast. But without further ado, welcome to this week. How is everybody doing? Hopefully you're doing well. I love Pokemon, so let's talk Pokemon. So the Pokemon press conference, this was basically a business strategy. They announced a ton of new games, ideas, devices, a little bit of everything, and we're going to go through it today. So, first things first, I'm not actually sure if, well, I think this is, for the most part, I'm going to try to stay in order here of the announcements, but the first thing is that they actually talked about Detective Pikachu, and they announced that since the first Detective Pikachu game that was on 3DS ended with kind of a cliffhanger, they are actually bringing the story to a conclusion with a Detective Pikachu game on Nintendo Switch. Now, it's unsure if, I'm assuming the way they made it sound like is that this is a brand new sequel coming to Nintendo Switch. Now, I never played the first Detective Pikachu, but this would be more than enough of a reason to go play the first one. I have heard that they might also want to bring the first Detective Pikachu game with the sequel to Nintendo Switch, kind of like what they did with Bayonetta. They brought both 1 and 2 to Nintendo Switch. That would be awesome. I'm sure there's a lot of people who own a Switch who also own a 3DS, so it's not like it's out of their way to play the first game. But still, I'm sure there's a lot of people who own a Switch who haven't owned a 3DS or don't own Detective Pikachu like me. So I really do hope that both games get ported over, or both games come over to Switch. Obviously, Detective Pikachu would have to be ported over. But it sounds like we're getting a brand spanking new Detective Pikachu game, which is exciting. I really enjoyed the movie. I know we didn't get to talk about it. I should have talked about Detective Pikachu. It's Nintendo focused. I loved Detective Pikachu. I thought it was fantastic. It was great. I loved it. For a video game movie, it was fun. It was so fun, and it was so focused on such a specific video game too. It wasn't just Nintendo. It wasn't just Pokemon. It wasn't just Pikachu. It was Detective Pikachu. It was such a specific idea, and it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope the movie gets a sequel. I would love to see it. But Detective Pikachu coming to Switch is a big deal. I'm very, very excited for this. Again, it's unsure if this would be or if they would bring over the first game as well. I'm hoping they will, just because, again, I haven't played it. A lot of people probably haven't played it, so that would be actually amazing if we actually got both games. But yeah, Detective Pikachu is in some way, shape, or form coming to Switch, which is exciting. I definitely wasn't expecting that. The next thing that actually got announced is Pokémon Home. And Pokémon Home is basically it's Pokémon Bank, but it ties every service together to make it one service that connects with all of your games, all of your Pokemon. It's a cloud-based service. It'll work on iOS, Android, and Nintendo Switch, and it'll basically have functionality as to where you can trade your Pokemon between the different services to Pokemon Home. So you can connect Pokemon Bank on 3DS and send all of your Pokemon from Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home. You can send your Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Home. And from your Nintendo Switch games like Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and Sword and Shield, you can send those Pokemon to Pokemon Home as well. Oh my gosh, so many Pokemon. But this is basically like a giant Pokemon bank, essentially. And I liked Pokemon Bank on 3DS. Being able to trade or not necessarily trade, but store all of your Pokemon from various Pokemon titles into one place. Heck yeah, that was awesome. Especially if you played a lot of Pokemon games and you wanted to share adventures with some of your Pokemon that you caught in previous games. It was awesome. I liked it. I do remember using it quite a bit. I'm not sure. I can't imagine my subscription is still going. So I'm not sure if all those Pokemon are lost in the ether or whatever. I'm gonna have to figure out how on earth I might have to just go buy that service back for like I think it was a monthly thing, or was it a yearly thing? I think a year. I don't remember it being too expensive either. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and get that back, because there's a lot of Pokemon I need to grab from that. But kind of as I suspected for Sword and Shield, bringing over, obviously you can bring over Pokemon from the Let's Go games and pretty much any previous Pokemon game in general. Any game that was on 3DS, you can pretty much bring over to Pokemon Bank and then bring those over to Pokemon Home and then send those to Sword and Shield. Pokemon can only go to Pokemon Home, and Pokemon Home can only send them to Sword and Shield. So you can't send a Pokemon from, let's say you send a Pokemon from Black to White 2 into Pokebank, and then send that to Pokemon Home. Those Pokemon can't then go to Let's Go, obviously, or Pokemon Go, obviously. So they can only go to Pokemon Home, and Pokemon Home can only send them to Sword and Shield. So it's basically a way to bring over Pokemon to Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. And I really like this idea. Pokemon Home sounds so much better than Pokemon Bank. I think this looks, everything about it looks nicer and cleaner. I liked Pokemon Bank, but Pokemon Home sounds and looks so much better. But like I said, it will also work on smartphones, which is pretty cool because obviously it has to work with Pokemon Go. And there is going to be trading functionality. I'm excited for it. I'm down for it. I'm excited. At first, when Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were announced to have functionality with Pokemon Go, and you could bring over Pokemon from Go into those games, I did not care for that. I wanted Pokemon Go to be a separate thing, its own spin-off, its own, separate thing. But after trading quite a few Pokemon from Go to the Let's Go games, honestly, I'll probably do the same with Sword and Shield, just because I play Pokemon Go a lot. I play it every day. I don't know if I'm necessarily a hardcore player, but I've played it pretty casually almost every day since it launched like 3 years ago now. So I love the game. It's the only mobile game that I've played this long and this consecutively, and it's actually kind of cool to be able to bring over Pokemon that I found in the real world and bring them over to a game that I can play on Switch. So I'm down for it. I think it's a cool idea. At first, I did not like it. I did not care for it. But after after thinking about it, there is really no harm in it. And it gives more life to various Pokemon. So instead of, because Pokemon Go can only hold so many Pokemon, Sword and Shield, obviously with the box system, I'm hoping they're keeping the box system. I hope. We're keeping the PC, right? Oh man, now I'm really wondering. Now you got me really wondering, Game Freak. But obviously with the main story games, it's much easier to actually organize Pokemon and stuff like that. So instead of just transferring a Pokemon in Go and just getting rid of it, I can at least send it over to my main story games and give some use to it in the game. So, I like it. I like the idea of Pokemon Home. As of right now, there's no price, but we do have a early 2020 launch promised. So it's not launching with Pokemon Sword and Shield, which will be fine. It'll give us plenty of time to play through the games normally with just the Pokemon that are offered in that game. And then after that, I'll probably end up playing through one game normally with that Pokédex, and then I'll probably end up buying the other game and actually transferring all of my Pokemon to that game to put them to some use. So that's a pretty big, exciting announcement, and I'm very excited for that. Now, next up is kind of an odd announcement. So we've all heard of Pokemon Go, where you walk around with your Pokemon. We've been told to Pokemon go to the polls. Now we're being told to Pokemon go to sleep, as Niantic and the Pokemon Company have announced Pokemon Sleep. Actually, take that back. It's not Niantic. Niantic is not developing this. Select Button is. So Pokemon Sleep is coming 2020, and it's essentially Pokemon Go, but for sleep. And there wasn't a lot of detail shown. There was no gameplay. There was nothing really announced for the game. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of information regarding how it works. But basically, what it seems like, it's a sleeping tracker. You play it while you sleep, and it tracks your sleep, and then I'm assuming that's what levels up your Pokemon. Man, this is such an odd concept. It's such an odd concept. It basically, it'll track your sleeping time. I'm not sure how the heck it works. We really didn't get anything like that. I'm down for it. like I just said, I play Pokemon Go every day. I love it. And as far as Pokemon Sleep, I mean, it's innocent enough, right? You get to play Pokemon even when you're sleeping. Like, I've always tried to find a good sleeping app to track my sleeping and to track my, how long I sleep and stuff like that, the quality of sleep. And if Pokemon Sleep will be able to do that accurately, plus throw Pokemon into the mix, I'll take it. I think that'd be fun. It's kind of the same with Pokemon Go. I've always tried to find something to get me to move around, walk, run, exercise, and I just never could. And Pokemon Go did that, and now I go on walks, I go on bike rides, I go for runs to play Pokemon Go, and I love it. I kind of expect the same thing from Pokemon Sleep here. If it can provide a decent sleep tracking app, plus throw Pokemon in the mix, that's just pretty cool in my opinion. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I'm excited to give it a shot. They did say it was coming in 2020, so it's not being released this year. I'm sure as the months go on and the year goes on, I'm sure that we'll find out more information regarding it, but it's very different. It's definitely something. This was I thought this was a joke at first. I really did. I thought that this was a joke. But they were serious. It is a thing. It is coming. Nintendo is also developing the Pokemon Go Plus, which will work as the Pokemon Plus works and as the Pokeball Plus work as an accelerometer to send your data to your game, obviously, but it'll also be used to track your sleep. So you can set it next to you. And I'm not sure how these things actually work, to be honest. Like, I'm not sure how these would work, setting your phone next to you or sending, because you're supposed to sleep with this thing. You're supposed to set it next to you while you sleep. And I guess that's what will level up your Pokemon or track your sleep or something like that. But it'll work like a regular Pokeball Plus does. But it'll also work for tracking your sleep, obviously. I own the Pokeball Plus and the Pokemon Go Plus. I own both of those. And I like them. I do like the Pokemon Go Plus because it's small, it's slick, it's pretty. I usually just use the clip and just clip it on my pants or on my belt or something like that. It's pretty small, pretty slick. I like it personally. The Pokeball Plus is just I got it more so for like to use as a controller and just for like to show off. It's a little too big to actually carry around, especially if I'm walking around to play Pokemon Go. I would rather use the Pokemon Go Plus. And if Nintendo thinks that I'm actually going to buy the Pokemon Go Plus and the Pokeball Plus and the Pokemon Go Plus, well, then they are absolutely right, because I'm probably going to pre-order this thing when it's available. I don't know why. I like these. I grew up with Heart Gold and Soul Silver and the Pokewalker. I carried that with me everywhere until I eventually lost it. I think in 7th or 8th grade. My friend lost his. And then shortly after that, I lost mine. It was nowhere to be found. I'm pretty sure I had a Cyndaquil on there too. I'm pretty sure I had a Cyndaquil or Sudowoodo. I don't know why, but I feel like I had one of those two on my Pokewalker, and it is gone forever. So I like these little things. I like them. They're cool. The Pokeball or the Pokemon Go Plus could have used such a better name. Who came up with this name? Who? You really couldn't have come up with anything else? I mean, I guess it's kind of hard. Like, they're literally based off Pokeballs. Like, what else are you going to call them? But still, Pokemon Go Plus, you couldn't have called it Pokemon Go Ultra or Pokemon Go Extra or Pokemon Go, I don't know, come up with something else, but Pokemon Go Plus. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, Pokemon Sleep is coming. I'm kind of excited for it, to be honest. I'm really intrigued by it because I do want a genuine sleep tracking app. And also, like I said, throwing Pokemon in the mix, kind of exciting. To tie in this announcement of Pokemon Sleep into Pokemon Go, Niantic CEO John Hank did announce that there are sleeping Snorlaxes all over the place. Sleeping Snorlax is available in Pokemon Go. I have not found any on my map just by opening up the game, so I'm probably gonna have to walk around a little bit to a Pokestop or gym, since I live in a pretty not so city-like area. Pokemon don't spawn a lot for me, unless I'm near like monuments or stuff like that. But definitely go out and check your local area for sleeping Snorlax. Once you catch them, they'll wake up, but when you encounter them, they'll be sleeping. So it's kind of a cool little thing. I've not seen if Snorlax can be shiny. I would hope that he can during this special event. But I've not seen anything, so I'm not too sure. But Pokemon Go now has sleeping Snorlax, so definitely check that out. Another mobile game was announced, and that is Pokemon Masters. I don't really care for mobile games outside of Pokemon Go, if I'm being honest. But Pokemon Masters looks kind of cool. It basically brings together all the gym leaders from the main story games. And it looks almost. People are saying it's going to be one of those gacha games where there's going to be a heavy monetization. Lots of almost like not like a loot box system, but like almost like a gambling system to get what you want and invest a lot of money. I do not care for those at all. I've tried. Most of them are just not nearly as interesting as they should be. They're not good enough to warrant me spending money in. Um, I'm not against spending money on mobile games. I do buy a lot of stuff on Pokemon Go, mostly because it's free and I enjoy it. And I don't mind spending $1 or $2 or a couple dollars here and there on the boxes that they have, or I'm buying a new. I rarely buy the clothing. Mostly I just buy like items like bag upgrades, lures, incense, stuff like that. I am definitely not against that, monetizing of a free mobile game. But Pokemon Masters, it did look pretty cool. It looked all right. I'll definitely give it a shot when it comes out. I'm not gonna, pass it up or anything. I'll definitely have to give it a shot. But that's not. They didn't really. I mean, they kind of showed gameplay. I didn't really get the whole gist of it, but it does launch this year on both iOS and Android. So I'll definitely be giving it a look. I will definitely be giving it a look when it launches this year. It looks pretty cool for a mobile game, but again, I'm just not too excited for them. The last thing they showed off was Pokemon shirts by Original Stitch, and I actually remember hearing about this. I think it was mentioned in an episode of Nintendo Voice Chat over on IGN, and it looks high quality, aesthetically pleasing, and very, very cool. They're basically, and I actually checked out the website, they're pretty expensive, but they are tailored for your fit. So you can choose, the size of the collar, the length of the arms, etc., etc. They're expensive, but they're made for your fit. So I'm actually going to go through right now the website. I already went through it once, but there's actually some really, really cool designs here. As far as right now goes, you can pretty much pick from the first 151 Pokemon, and you can customize the fabric or the design for the base, the outer collar, the inner collar, the outer cuffs, the inner cuffs, the pocket, the outer pocket. It's actually some really cool customization here. And the designs, I'm going to go through the designs. Those are also really, really cool. Like, most of them are, obviously they are Pokemon themed, but a lot of them, just from looking at them, are pretty minimalistic. Like, I'm looking at the Charizard one, and it's pretty minimalistic. Like, you can probably wear this to like a business setting, or some of them are kind of funky. I'm looking at this Beedrill one. This Beedrill one is really cool, but it's funky. But a lot of these are pretty like the Rattata looks pretty cool. Well, I like the Sandshrew one. Oh, these are really, really, really nice. What's this one? Oh, that's really cool. The Gloom one. It's pretty nice. But yeah, some of them are pretty minimalistic. And you can actually wear them to work or in a business setting. And sure, someone might catch that, hey, that's a Pokemon, but it doesn't scream Pokemon. There's obviously a few. It looks like this is the Voltorb one. And it has like Pokeballs on it with Voltorbs every now and then. The Hitmonlee one's pretty weird. It's kind of cool. But like I said, some of them are, pretty straightforward, like pretty, Pokemon. But some of them, other ones are pretty laid back. They're pretty minimalistic. I really like some of these. Um, well, is this Mewtwo? Yeah, this is Mewtwo. That one's really cool. Yeah, some of these I'm going through all of these. These ones are really, really awesome. The Jolteon's really nice. I like that one as well. The Porygon. I like that Porygon one. That one's cool. But yeah, definitely check them out. I'm going through the Gengar. The Gengar looks so sick. Whoa, the Gengar looks so sick. The Nidoqueen is pretty cool. Some of them are pretty crazy. The Arbok one, that's really cool. That's like based off of his I don't know what you call that on a snake, but it's kind of based off his design. Like, I don't know what you call it. I really do like the Beedrill one. This one's really, really cool. It's like kind of extra, but it's really, really cool. But yeah, you're able to apply different styles. So the base of the shirt could be Beedrill, and then if I want the outer collar to be Pidgeot, or if I want it to be Nidoking, I can definitely do that. So you can create some pretty funky designs. It's pretty cool. They are expensive, but again, they are tailored for your fit. And they're pretty minimalistic, but they're also just really, really nice. They're really nice looking. You can definitely tell it's Pokemon if you look hard enough. But then it's also, again, casual, where you can probably wear it to work and not really suspect a thing. So, I don't know. It's pretty expensive for me personally, but if that's something you're into, definitely go ahead and check it out. I've known about it for a while, but it's pretty cool to see the Pokemon Company actually address it. So yeah, that was that. And all in all, that was the Pokemon press conference. It's clear that there's more of a direction towards mobile than anything, with updates coming to Pokemon Go, them announcing Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Masters coming out. They're making devices like the Pokemon Go Plus stuff for mobile. And I really do think the days of like the Nintendo spin-offs, like Coliseum, XD, Gale of Darkness, Pokemon Conquest, those are kind of over. Those are, I don't think we'll see anything like that anytime soon. I don't think we can rule them out completely, because we did just get like Detective Pikachu, which was kind of a spin-off game of sorts. So I don't think we can rule out those spin-offs completely. But I think the focus for at least Nintendo consoles is the main series games and the Let's Go games. And I think everything else is probably going to be tailored for mobile, just because it's easy to monetize those. It's easier to market those. It's easier to, that's where the future's headed, is mobile. And obviously there's been success with Nintendo's mobile games. There's been some decent success with Pokemon's mobile games. And while I'm not a fan of mobile, that's clearly where Pokemon wants to go. So it is what it is. As long as they're high quality, as long as they're not obvious cash grabs, I can't be too upset over them. I will welcome them with open arms. But that's obviously where Nintendo wants to go, and where Pokemon wants to go with spin-off titles. Obviously, nothing with Pokemon Sword and Shield was announced. That's going to be saved for the next week's Pokemon Direct, which, like I said, hopefully all going well, I should be able to actually talk about it next week, because it happens the day I record, before I record. So that should be awesome. But yeah, that was the Pokemon press conference for 2019. kind of underwhelming if you were expecting a lot. Thankfully, I went into this with literally zero expectations. They could have talked about, I don't know, they could have talked about Pokemon Sleep the entire time, and I would have still come out pretty happy. I really didn't expect much, and I don't say that in a negative way. You have to understand, this isn't a Nintendo Direct. This isn't E3. This is just a Pokemon press conference discussing strategy moving forward. And their strategy is obviously in mobile gaming. So, can't be too upset at that. They obviously see success, and they obviously see a better market there. And while I hope that spinoff games, I hope they don't halt production of spin-off games on Nintendo systems. I'd love to play more Pokemon on Switch. Bring over other Pokemon, spin-off games to Switch. But I understand where they're coming from. I understand the capabilities of mobile are probably more tailored towards the ideas that they have. But yeah, they're obviously going mobile for the most part. So can't be too upset, but that's obviously where they're headed. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the Pokemon press conference this year. Hopefully you weren't expecting too much, because again, there really wasn't a whole lot. But that was that. With that said, that does bring us to the end of this week's Joy-Con cast. Like I said, this week was going to be a little shorter, as I mostly just wanted to talk about the Pokemon conference. Next week will be even more Pokemon, as we discuss the Pokemon Direct. As far as what I expect, I really don't want them to announce too much. I really, really don't. Like, show off the box art, show off the legendaries, give us a glimpse at some more Pokemon. Don't announce the entire Pokédex, please. Like, maybe show off, the Route 1 Pokemon, or show off Pokemon that you'll get, like, halfway through, or show off, something like that. Like, show off, I'd say, like, I don't know how many new Pokemon are being added, but don't go crazy with it. I don't want it all spoiled. Like, one of the joys of playing through a new Pokemon game is finding the new Pokemon. So, hopefully they don't show off too many new Pokemon. Hopefully. But yeah, box art definitely, legendaries definitely. Show off a couple new Pokemon. I want to see what this region is going to look like as far as the Pokemon that inhabit it. A solid release date. I don't know if they announced. I think when they announced Sword and Shield, it was just 2019. I'm pretty sure it's a November game, though. Pokemon is usually November. I would have to bet it's probably like the 15th or the 22nd. Those are Fridays. Those are typically when Pokemon games come out. We don't need a release date. Like, it's pretty, surefire that's coming out in November. But a release date would be nice. Box art, like I said. And that's pretty much it. Like, show off a little bit more of the region. Maybe kind of explain the story a little bit, or what it is we're getting ourselves into. But I definitely don't want, like, because that was one thing that kind of killed it with, like, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, even, like, Sun and Moon, was, like, just all of the information that we found out prior to launch. And it kind of ruined the excitement. It kind of ruined the joy of playing a new Pokemon game, was that so much information had been announced that it was like, like, you kind of know what you're expecting now. I don't want that for this game, this time around. And it sucks because normally I would just avoid it and, like, not listen to that information, but it's so hard, especially now running this podcast where I definitely want to talk about this stuff. It's so hard to avoid all that stuff when it gets announced. So yeah, hopefully next week's Direct isn't filled with, like, too much. Hopefully it's pretty mild with the information that they talk about, but we'll just have to see. With that said, that is going to bring us to the end, finally, of this week's Joy-Con cast. Next week, we'll talk about all that good Pokemon news. So it's Pokemon back-to-back, But hey, we're very excited for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'm very, very hyped for it. So I don't mind having back to back. And maybe there'll be something in between today and next week. Something else for me to talk about for next week's episode. There were some other things I wanted to talk about, but they're pretty, pretty small, and nothing was really confirmed. I felt like just talking about Pokemon this week, so hopefully you don't mind. With that said, if you enjoyed this episode of Pokemon, or if you enjoyed this episode of Pokemon, if you enjoyed this episode of the Joy-Con Cast, don't forget to drop a like, as that'd be appreciated. If you want to support the show, you can find the show on Patreon. Link is in the description. If you want to stay up to date, follow the show on Twitter. Link, again, is in the description. But above all else, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.